Hey there, I'm Dr. Alauna, trauma psychiatrist, and I'm excited to come to you today for a preview of the Trauma Cure Creators Using Radical Empathy. And I today am joined by my special guest, and who will be also coming to teach in the Trauma Cure, Monica Josette, an award winning choreographer and a just wonderful acclaimed director and a healing curator. And she's doing the upcoming production of the Tap Dance Kid at the Ensemble Theater. And I can't wait to talk to her more about mindfulness and exploring how we can integrate wellness and healing into trauma recovery. So, welcome, Monica. Thank you for joining us today.
You for having me.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So we came together because I think it's important to answer some of people's frequently asked questions about the trauma cure. And I said the best way that I can explain it is just to get on here and explain it. So I conceived the trauma cure out of my own personal pain, to be honest, right? It was not it was not an easy thing to get here. I had gone through health problems and all kinds of personal challenges that were all compiling in that same time frame, to the point where I was not even able to practice clinical medicine anymore. My 12-year career at the VA was just felt like, taking care of veterans all those years, it was like crashing out, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I have to figure out how to do something to give this information back to other people, because I don't want to take it, you know, away with
Right.
me. And
Mhm.
so I created the trauma cure through a need to be able to teach and explain these concepts about how the brain is really driving our mental health, but we haven't been taught anything about it. And it was kind of mind blowing for me as I put on the event over the years, because we started in 2019 with the Trauma Cure. That was the first time we did it in person at the Magnolia downtown. Shouts out to them.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful facility. But when we did that first one, of course, COVID came right behind it in 2020, and we had to pivot to virtual. And we realized that we were able to serve people all over the world, really, because we've even had participants from Germany, and we've had participants tune in from Canada and Australia. But we truly are grounded here in Houston, Texas, H Town. So just want to give a shout out to Houston. And that's what really brought me to putting together something where I could bring folks together all at one time and be able to really give them the best of scientific evidence about how we can heal ourselves from trauma. How did you find out about us? I think you've been doing this for some years with me now.
I have been doing this for some years. One of your producers actually was working in some dance and movement with someone close to her, and she introduced us. And I think we just kind of like started talking and realizing that we were kind of on the same jive. I'm not a clinical doctor by any means, but I am an expert in movement.
Yes, yes,
So um,
absolutely.
yeah, I think that's how that came about.
Yes. And I think I'm going to go a little bit deeper later into what we talk about in the trauma cure, but one of the favorite components of the trauma cure is the magic of movement, and that is your segment that you do with us, and it's that 30 minutes is never enough. I'll just say that it's never enough, because I always leave feeling energized, feeling just so grounded. But can you just tell us a little bit about, like, what brought you to integrating your, dance
Oh
elements
yeah. Yeah.
into healing and trauma recovery?
So I think similar to you, right? Like I had a bunch of personal life experience that was quite traumatic. And I also had for a time sort of moved away from my dance kind of thing, like sort of like alienating myself from everything that where I felt safe because I had so much trauma. And then I sort of came back into like dancing even in the professional field slowly, because I was on a super burnout where I just was kind of giving up on everything. And it took that for me to sort of slowly get back embodied into my body, and to sort of, through my artistry, but also just through my humanness, like rediscovering what it felt like to be in this body, and how wonderful it felt to move, and how much better I felt when I did move, and that kind of thing. And so over time, I sort of started doing research, and I started curating an experience that actually was originally meant to serve me, and I expanded that idea and the platform, so that I could serve other people too. Because I felt like, you know, the movement and the moving and the dance and returning to that place, like really brought me back to such a place of joy. It also like helped me cry. It helped me sort through stuff, kind of thing. It helped me
Mhm.
feel empowered again, and I wanted to further the work of doing the work to be able to give that gift to someone else, you know.
Yeah. Now, I have found personally that movement and dance is one of those really psychologically challenging things because you're doing this sometimes by yourself, but often in front of other people who you know will judge you, who you know are watching you. And so just getting free of some of the mental baggage and practicing moving your body without being as caught up in trying to judge it or make it just so just for the sake of healing, that in itself, as we would do our practice in your previous sessions, that got that ball rolling for me to think about like, where in my own life can I put some movement and activity where I just block out all the mental noise and allow myself to just do the motion, almost feels ancestral motions
It's
that
very
come
ancestral.
to
Yeah.
me.
I think we all have that cellular DNA like embedded in us, that cellular memory, where when we start moving and we start moving through our bodies, we start releasing, we hold our emotions in our spine. If you believe in the chakra system or understand the chakra system, as you're moving all of that energy up and down the spine and through and throughout, you start to feel emotions perhaps, and then you can enhance it or amplify it with whatever music you're listening to. But also it can be something as simple as a beat, as a drum beat, as your foot beating, as you hand boning, um there I am doing the tap dance kid right now, and so in that research I have really been leaning into what was happening in the early parts of tap dance, which where the slaves were on the plantation, and at the end of the day, at the long laborious day, all the trauma that's endured through the day of that pain of that, to get together to do what? To dance. What do we bang on? Ourselves. We use a banjo, we use a hand drum, we use all those things, and we come together and we do this communal thing that actually is spiritually rooted, in who
Mhm,
we are as a people. And it brings us together as a community. It allows us to express creatively where we didn't have that space throughout the day, because we were slaves and that kind of thing, you know.
mhm,
Um, and it allows us also to move that trauma and that pain through our bodies and out of our bodies, so that we can potentially avoid sickness, right? we
mhm,
can get we can get the benefits of dance, that in movement, which is cardiovascular benefits. You can get it's mood enhancing. um there's benefits there's empirical data, for cognitive retention,
mhm,
and potentially less diagnosis in like Alzheimer's and that kind of thing if you're dancing and moving all the time. So there's so many
so many
things, and it's
benefits.
so important. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
so many benefits, and so important too, like for us to continue to move as a community, as
Speaking
well.
of which, we were talking
Mhm.
about Sinners before we
Mhm.
came on, and that scene where Delroy Lindo was telling the story about how he and some of his buddies, how his buddies had gotten on the chain gang, and how the lynching of his friend, and the brutal cutting of his friend had impacted him. And when he ran out of words, he started to beat on the car, and then they started just making that music, and and he was rocking, and you could see
Mhm.
how he was processing that pain through movement
Mhm.
and music. And
Mhm.
I think it was such a brilliant scene personally, because it really highlights how at every step of the way we have found ways to take those deeply rooted ancestral traditions and turn them into
Mhm.
something that lets us get past the ugly and the negative and the nasty. But that's why, going back to the importance of incorporating movement in something like the trauma cure, that's the reason why it's so essential for us to get to know these components of our
Mhm.
body and get comfortable with our bodies again. Because
Mhm.
trauma
For
makes
sure.
you separate from your body. It makes you
Mhm.
operate sometimes in a disassociated state where you're not fully in touch and feeling all of the sensations that there are to
Yes.
feel.
Yes.
And because we're swimming in so many
Mhm.
traumatic experiences without knowing it,
Mhm.
it's such a normal state of being that we're often not even aware that we're in it until we make ourselves slow down enough and
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, for sure. The magic of movement is all about embodiment. It's an embodiment practice that ends up just being great for your mental and physical wellness, well-being,
Mhm.
right? But that's what
Yeah.
it's about. It's about getting inside your body, being comfortable in your body, being able to say affirmatively, I'm safe in my body. Like all of those things. The magic of movement is there to do. And really we are masters of transmutation. We just have to understand the skill set and what is required and be able to intentionally tune into what we need to do to transmute um you know those things through us and out of us and into different energy.
So thank you so much for that input on that. And I want to tell them a little bit more about some of the other things that they will get in the trauma cure. So one of the most important questions or common questions that I get is, why is it so long? They go 2 days, 2 whole days, Dr. Alana. Why is it 2 whole days? 9 to 5, yes. And we take a lunch break. Okay, you get an hour lunch break. But here's why it's 2 whole days, because we need enough time to break down the complete shenanigans that we have. How old are we? 40. How old are you? How old are all of us, right? Think about the number of years you've been alive, please. That's how long you have been hearing misinformation, like you don't have emotions, other people have too many. What other stuff? Just shenanigans.
Yep.
Like she made me do it, he made me do it. You making me mad, that's why I'm punching the wall. You
Mhm.
forced me we following the Diddy try. You made me beat you. No, that's not how it works. Self-control, right? So here's the things that we haven't been taught. And for so many times when I talk to audiences, they and I poll them, I ask them, growing up, like in your household, where were you taught that emotions come from? Like, and if you're here in the chat, you can drop, the answer to that in the chat of like, what the people, and oftentimes when I ask that question, people are like, I don't think we talked about it. Like, nobody
Mhm.
really told me. They might have demonstrated it to me. Maybe they were fortunate enough to have a family or member or caregiver that was in psychology or any kind of, space where they would have talked about emotions. But like,
Mhm.
where do they come from inside? Like, how do they happen? And for most, they'll say the heart. They'll say they might say your instincts or your gut.
Mhm.
They may say your the devil, demons made me do it. God,
Mhm.
or God. Sometimes it's God. We put it on all kinds of other things, but
Mhm.
there's actually an answer in science that's available to us to learn, and for that to become a very simple fact of life, that our emotions come from our amygdala. They come from a
Mhm.
part of our brain. As we're taking in information from the environment, our brain amygdala goes boom. Here's the emotions that we think we should be having. And then it sends signals into the rest of your body, maybe your heart to race, or your stomach to curl, or your muscles to tighten, or your fist to ball up. But your amygdala, or your face to smile, but your amygdala
Mhm.
is producing those emotions. And
Mhm.
we should all know that. That seems like important information, right? But
Absolutely.
because we have not been taught about these things, but have been actually taught a lot of other things, we have to dissect it first. Like, how do we get here? So the first day one of the trauma cure is really focused on fleshing out, like, how do we get to this? How do we get programmed into the whatever belief systems we have? How do we think about trauma? How do we think about the world? And then we talk about how do we rebuild an emotional vocabulary. So not only accepting that it's there, but how do we actually learn to talk about these emotions that we've spent, I don't know about you, but I spent 44 years, suppressing or trying not to do, right? Like,
Mhm.
seems kind of backwards, right? Seems like it might, we might have a malfunction in society if we have 8 billion people who may not realize what's going on inside their body. So that's day one, is really digging into these components. But we have Monica will be joining us on day one to lead the magic of movement exercise. And then we will also have some other treats that you'll receive throughout the day. We have a playlist. Like, it is the most fun. I gotta say this. I got to toot my horn just a little bit, Monica, and you can maybe speak to this. But we have a good time in the
We
trauma cure.
do. We do.
We not in, like, you might cry a little bit, when you think about some stuff that may have gone on in your life. But we're not gonna be. And also, Monica, you could verify this as well. We're
Mhm.
not talking about individual people's business.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You don't
Mm-mm.
have to tell all your business. I mean, you can
Nope.
share what you want to share in terms of if there's something that moves you that you want to share, but this is not tell all your business day. I'm retired from clinical practice and I don't do that anymore. There are people who will happily listen and help you and do whatever that other part is, but that's not what we do in the trauma cure. We move,
Mhm.
we learn, we practice, and we have a good time. Okay, that's what we do
Mhm.
in the trauma cure. So day two, because they're like, why you need 2 days? Day two. I'm just trying to do the frequently asked questions, sis, because they ask. Why you need 2 days? Okay, 2 days. Let me tell you why. Because on the second day, we're going to learn about those parts of your brain. You have 7 parts of your brain that you have to learn about that you may have heard of before. But those parts of your brain that are always operating, that you may not even realize are there, they are doing a lot. And it takes a while to explain them in a way that people can understand. Because I try to make
Mhm.
complex things real simple. So I only
Mhm.
have 7 things I need you to learn. But sometimes people leave like, oh my God, I did not know all that was going on.
Ah!
They be stressed out. They call you back like, Doc, like, you mean to tell me that this has been happening my whole life? Yes,
Mhm.
it's been happening our whole
Mhm.
life. So we take our time and we go through the information in a way that it doesn't matter if you are a practitioner, someone who's treating patients or taking care of clients or coaching people, or if you are a non-traditional healer. Maybe you're someone who works in community and you're dealing with trying to bring resources to your young people that are experiencing trauma, or if you're working in prisons, or if you are a minister who is trying to care for a flock, of any kind, you will probably notice that the rates of suicidality are going up. People are struggling with their depression and anxiety and all of those things. When you start digging up underneath it, I'll get I'll give you the answer. It's going to be trauma.
Mhm.
Traumatic experiences happening that are programming their bodies, their brain, and their responses. And you, as the provider and the practitioner, can get better informed about it by coming to the trauma cure and coming away with some techniques that will help serve you along the way. So
Mhm.
other things that we do in the trauma cure on that day two, or on both of the days really, is that I give you guys information about number one, how to join the community because it's so helpful to heal in community. Many times people don't want to talk. I mean, when I'm like, anybody want to talk about trauma? People like, what? Nobody volunteers, right?
Mhm.
But if we actually think about healing and how the healing process happens, it comes from talking about and sharing your traumas. And
Mhm.
when you do, and you start to recognize and acknowledge that they're there and really turn them around upside down, you start to realize how much they are impacting you even now. And you are able to see in real time a new pathway of how
Mhm.
to act and how to respond. But 2 days ain't long enough for me to get you all the way there. So I will tell you more about my coaching program and how to work with me throughout the rest of the year. But that really is the core of what happens on those 2 days in the trauma cure. I hope I answered questions. Monica, did you have any questions or anything that you think your audiences ask you?
So just like a really super quick brief overview for the part of the workshop that we do with the trauma cure, we go through a little bit of somatic breath work just so you have an idea of what that is. That's like helping to regulate our parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system. It's helping us to relax. It's helping us to get embodied. I do a technique called the 478 method, and that helps us sort of activate that vagus nerve to help that parasympathetic nervous system, like, speed up the process to get us regulated and back into a place of homeostasis in our bodies. um, I also do what I call like a body scan. We do some other kind of embodied exercises that sort of mimic like yoga or some type of follow along dancing. They're very, very simple, guys. Don't get thrown off by the word dance through the first part of the practice, okay? Because the first part of the practice is all about moving our spine, spiraling, moving our heads, getting stuff out of our neck, moving the energy up and down our bodies and out of our bodies, away from our bodies, and things like that, and getting into that breath work. And then we also do in this particular workshop, my favorite part, which is called the spirit dance, which is basically where we just turn on some music and you just do whatever your body tells you to. Just to make a brief point about what Dr. Alauna talked about earlier, in the Sinners movie, when he was starting to do that sway and that movement, those are actually exercises that are taught in DMT, which is dance movement therapy, as well as some somatic breath work and other things that actually help to regulate the nervous system, which is why I say we're masters of transmutation and regulating ourselves, because without even
Monica,
knowing it. Yep, yep, yep.
let me ask you
Good.
a question because this is
Okay,
for my brother, my guys. They
okay.
when they hear dance and they hear movement, sometimes they're like, "Is this for guys?" And I want to make sure that we answer that
Mm-hmm,
question because that's thrown
mm-hmm,
off some people. Number one, the
mm-hmm,
trauma cure is for any and everybody, but I want
mm-hmm.
to specifically give you that question to answer about how is it for men? Can they do it?
I love that question because men actually can benefit so much from moving their bodies in ways that are not necessarily from like fitness or strength training or things that they socially accept as socially acceptable ways to move their bodies, right? And in this particular space, you see men doing yoga all the time. You see men doing qigong, tai chi, like all of those things, right? It's just movement. It's just moving our bodies. There's not a gender attached to the movement of your body, right? Every human can move. And when that music turns on, it's all about creative expression and about just feeling what's inside your avatar. So it matters not male or female when we get into that space. You move your body how you move your body, whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
and so that's a great question because I love moving with men and with men a part of the community, because it really does help us move faster into the healing, knowing that we're doing it collectively, not just based on gender, but we're doing
Yeah.
this with the strength of the feminine as well, as well as the masculine.
And it really makes me sad, to be honest, that we even have to have that conversation because it so much shows how restrictive the world has become around ideas of what a man or woman is supposed to be. And when you think of the beautiful, diverse expression of the human species, there are all different types of people in the categories of man and woman. 50% of the world, 4 billion,
Yep.
okay, of each one of those things. And there's no rule book that says that we have to be anything, but we do
No.
self enforce a lot of societal restrictions. Boom, trauma. Okay, so let me tell you, if you're interested us on that day. How do you get your tickets? You get your tickets by going to thetraumacure.com. And let me tell you a little bit about your two options for tickets because I think that's important too. So the regular admission price is $199. That gives you access to the live 2-day training where you'll have direct conversations and interactive sessions with me. And it also gets you 1 month of trauma recovery coaching with me afterwards. So that's one individual session and one group session of the empathy skills practice reinforcement so that even after you do the trauma cure, you follow up and get that touch of support that helps you reflect on how it's working, how you're implementing those skills in your life. Also, with the regular at the general admission ticket, you receive a digital workbook of the empathy skills practice workbook. So you receive that digital copy. And in the mail before the event, I send a packet of material to you that helps you to have some information and keep track of your experience. So you'll receive a Dr. Alauna journal and a pen where you'll be able to write your answers to these questions that we talk about. You'll receive some emoji sticks that help us to think about and talk about and remember where our emotions come from. The brain, it's all the brain. But I throw in a few things just to help you remember in the long run about how to use these skills and how these skills can help you and other people in your life to improve not only your communication, but your emotional state. Now, the VIP admission is $299, gives you the same base packet, but also in the mail, you will get a Keep Calm and Evolve hat. You get some upgraded Dr. Alana swag. So keep that in mind that you get a few extra things. You get the printed copy of the Empathy Skills Practice Workbook because I don't know about you, but just having that physical touch point helps me remember things. Sometimes I run across and I'm like, ooh, I owe somebody a seer apology, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. All right. So the other thing that you get with VIP is that you get 2 additional months of trauma recovery membership. So that's 3 months total of the Trauma Recovery Academy membership. And you are able to get the event recordings afterwards. So after the event, if you know you can be there for most of it, but you may miss a part, get the VIP package so that you can get the recordings and be able to review the parts that you missed. Now, one other thing that we do with the VIP is that we have a chat and chill session on the evening of day one where you can ask me your questions and we'll kind of review and think about real time aha moments and things that you want to share or want to work through a little bit more. So that is the Trauma Cure experience. You also can sponsor a ticket. So maybe you're not able to make it, but you know someone who really needs to have that experience. Go ahead and talk to them and say, hey, watch this. I think you need, come here, friend. Now, look, let me tell you something. If you can come, you come too. Okay. Because, we love being like, oh, I have a cousin who needs this. Well, they need you too. It truly works best when you do this with other people in your life because then you all can hold each other accountable. Like, now, sis, to me, the way you said that, that was not a dear man statement, but okay, we'll come back to that. All right. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Monica, for coming on here. We're going to wrap this up, but I want to tell people where they can find you. So let them know where to find you.
Sure. You can find me at www.discoverthemagicofmovement.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Move Dance Heal, or on Instagram at Monica Josette, as well as on TikTok at Monica Josette, first and last name.
Nice. And the website is scrolling along the bottom.
I'm sorry, I
Also,
said at Monica Josette at Monty Joe Magic. What am I talking about? Why did I say my name? Because I'm reading my name on the screen. It's MoniMagic. Monty Joe Magic. Yeah,
Money Joe Magic.
Monijo. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I
All
said that.
good.
Anyway, yeah, yeah.
All good. Thank you. So if you're looking to follow her, say it one more time.
Yes. So Instagram, Moni Joe Magic, Monijo Magic, Magic, and also Move Dance Heal, MoveDanceheal, as well as two pages on Instagram, and then on TikTok at Moni Joe Magic, as well as the Magic of Movement website, which is www.discoverthemagicofmovement.com.
Nice. And she has some awesome Hillman Top classes on TikTok as well. So as far as where you can find Dr. Alana, you can please like this video, and please follow or subscribe whatever platform you are following on, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. We look forward to seeing you in the Trauma Cure. I am once again your favorite trauma psychiatrist, Dr. Alana. I am on Instagram and Facebook at DRALAUNA. Come holla at me. All right, lady. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.